Hey everybody, it's Professor Milat. We are now in week 11, and this week we are focusing on locating credible sources using the library databases and evaluating those sources for suitability for your research topic. Now, mind you, for this research paper, I've already provided you with some resources for our topic, right? So, our topic, if you remember, is the question: does technology make us happier? In the readings this week, you will see this PDF, and it is actually a list of pre-selected resources. Now, I did not come up with this list of resources completely on my own. I actually took um, many of these resources from the book that I got this idea from, and the textbook is, I think I have it here. Yeah. The textbook is, and this will probably appear backwards on your screen, but it's this little book. It's a thin volume called Pursuing Happiness. And the last module in that book has to deal with um, the topic of technology making us happier. So the authors of that book, and I would love to use the book, but it's rather expensive, even though it's a very slim paperback volume. So instead, I've just located the articles that I think are the most interesting, as well as their list of additional resources that students can use to write about and research further. Um, so you see this list of resources, and it's a fairly long list. I have added to this list, so there are a few things in there that I thought was interesting and were related to technology. So I'm going to out myself as a super duper nerd here, like you didn't already know this, but I actually am a resident in the virtual world called Second Life. I don't do anything perverted there. um, but those of you who are older and maybe watched The Office, you would remember an episode with Dwight going into Second Life and flying around like a huge dork. But it is a very interesting aspect of technology. So if you're drawn to something like that, the world of virtual worlds, um, you could research along those lines. How is how is our identity impacted by virtual worlds, right? Virtual reality, that kind of stuff. I have added a few other things that students have found that are more up to date. So a lot of these you will see are a little bit older, right? You have dates from 2014. One is 2011, although that's a really good YouTube video. Is the internet making us stupid? Highly recommend watching that. Um, but you see anything that's been added from probably about 2019 onwards is likely from me, right? And I've pulled from resources that students have used in previous classes. If I think they're really good resources and they're related to the question, does technology make people happier? I add it to my list of resources. So it's ever evolving, ever changing, and growing longer and longer. As you can see here, it's several pages long. But all of these have been vetted, right? I have looked at them. There are a few things that are academic here that deal with COVID. So if, again, you feel drawn to how COVID impacted us and, the digital switch that we made quite rapidly in 2020, you could look at those things, right? And again, we have one here from 2023, which essentially talks about stopping to use their phone, right? And there are a few things that are related to Instagram, I think. Yeah, a marketplace of girl influencers managed by moms and stalked by men. That's essentially the child influencers of Instagram whose parents technically run the accounts, and how these children often fall prey to child predators. So again, we have more recent research here as well on teens and social media. So you really could go in a variety of directions. It's really up to you how you want to answer that question, and what aspect of technology do you feel drawn or perhaps drawn to or repelled by, right? So that's the resources for does technology make us happier? Again, you have two other resources that you are reading this week. And we have the source evaluation assignment. The source evaluation assignment just means you're going to pick two of them, right? You're going to think critically. I think you're only doing one of the articles. So you're going to think critically about the information that you confront on a daily basis, right? And so out of these two sources, 4 ways technology can make you happier, and Stop Googling, Let's Talk, you're going to fill out this downloadable worksheet. So I don't think I have the video uploaded to this. I should upload it. But maybe I can just go quickly. So if you open up that worksheet, that PDF, you'll see this is already marked up, right? So what you want to do instead is download it. And once you open it up as a PDF, you can then interact and change the things here. You can type in here, right? And down here, use the MLA citation and fill these out and type in them. And then what you would do is come over to the menu and save as a unique file name, right? Save it to your storage and then upload it to the assignment page. So here you're just working with, you're choosing between, I'm not going to save that. So you're choosing between 2 of the articles, right? You will either choose Stop Googling, Let's Talk and evaluate that based on the CRAP test criteria, or 4 ways technology can make you happier and evaluate that, right? So you're just going to open the worksheet, download it as a PDF so that you can then interact with it. Hopefully that makes sense. There is a video here. I'm not sure if this link actually functions. Yes, evaluating sources. So take a look at that video as well. And that should clarify that assignment, hopefully. Hopefully it is pretty clear. So anyway, as you move forward, we have that list, right? We have that list of resources. However, I don't want you to feel limited to that list. I provide that list to you just to make the research process and working with sources a little bit easier, because this is an introductory research essay. It's not going to be like an essay that you will have to write in English 1001, where you have to come up with your own pieces of research, right? However, I feel it's my job to introduce you to some of the resources that we have available to us in the library. So if you look over here on the left-hand side, and this is probably a link that you have in most of your classes, if not all of them, but they'll look different depending on what class it is. If you click on that link, it opens up to a new page, and it has more links to resources for the library. It has links on citing sources. It takes you to a page on citation for MLA. We have the English Composition Research Guide, which is really fantastic. There's also a link to the college library, the one here at UC Claremont, as well as a link to the A to Z database list. There's also a search engine for frequently asked questions. You can chat with librarians during their open hours, but you can also use the chat bot after hours for a response by the next day. So you can interact with people at the library. It may not be synchronous. It may be a little bit asynchronous, depending on when you are wanting to chat and ask your questions. But keep in mind, the librarians are there to help you, right? They want to help you research. This is their wheelhouse. That's their specialty, right? They know how to do research and how to locate really good information. So that's one way you can find the UC library. You can also come up here and just type in ucclaremont.edu. I like to show students different ways of accessing the library. And you'll see the very last link over on the right-hand side in the toolbar is for the library, and it opens up to this page. I believe this is the page that opens up when you click on the library for students. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, I lied. So depending on where you're working, you can always access this outside of Canvas, and you get it when it's during the day. You will get a chat that pops up, and you can just say no thanks, I don't need any help. Or if you want to talk to one of the librarians, you can. So this is our UC Claremont Library, Frederick A. Marcotte Library. You see a picture of what it actually looks like on campus. And then, of course, you have several different things here. Now, the thing that I want to introduce to you is what is called OneSearch. And you will also see there's a video embedded in that research guide about OneSearch, but I want to open it up in the big screen so that it's easier for you to see. I'm going to move my embedded video here so that you see. So previously, the UC Claremont Library, or actually all the UC libraries, had what was called Search Summon. And that was a specialized search that essentially just looked for journal articles and scholarly stuff. This they have simplified for us. They are making it kind of a one-stop shop, right? So if you want to look for books, articles, videos, images, anything, you just put it into the search engine. So I am just going to put in technology, type it correctly, technology and happiness. And I've not refined it to anything, but I want to see everything that's available, right? So you can further refine it over here. We want to look at availability. So it's always a good idea to check available online, right? You want to be able to have access to that information. If your professor wants you to use peer-reviewed journals, you could do that. You could use open access. You could use physical items at the library. Because this is a distance learning class, we don't want to use that option, right? Unless you are local, because it would be difficult to get the information. You can further refine that from publication date. So we can look within the last 5 years. No, 5 years, right? And refine it further, right? And we can, again, make sure that it's available online, apply that filter. And lastly, if we want to just look at articles, we're not interested in books or videos or anything else, we just want articles, we can further refine it. So we've gotten down to 20,000 from, well, let's see if that refines. Yeah, okay. So we have peer-reviewed journals. No, we don't want peer-reviewed, but whatever. So we have some articles here on technology and happiness. So if you want to look at more things, right, you can use the library here. Now, one of the fantastic features is you can click on it and access it. You can download it. You can look at the contents. You can find sources that cite it. So you can find additional sources that are related. You can email the article to yourself. You can look for the citation, and you can use this little thing and add it to your folder, right? So it saves it to your favorites, and then when you want to come back later and do further research, you can come back and look at your favorites and find that article. So let's open up the article, and I want to show you a few more features. This is just the listing for the article. So again, you can share it if you wanted to, email it, you can have the permalink, you can have the citation. These other things, export RIS, BibTeX, EasyBib, export to EndNote and Excel. If you're using some kind of bibliographic software to help with your citations? Probably not, but on the off chance that you are, you can export to one of those services. EasyBib, I believe it, yeah, it opens up EasyBib. EasyBib is kind of a service that's similar to Citation Machine. It helps you with citations. This one is a little bit different. You could import it. I'm not going to take the time to look at that because I typically recommend students use this tool here, right? So we have the citation, and right at the top, we have MLA 9th edition. That's what we want. We can copy that citation to the clipboard and then open up Microsoft Word or Google Docs, whatever you happen to be drafting in, and paste that. You would then have to fix the formatting, and you can easily and quickly do that by highlighting, right-clicking, coming to paragraph, and choosing the special line spacing. We want it double spaced, and with MLA, we use something that's called the hanging indent. So that you come down to indentation and special and choose hanging, and see the magic of that. It actually does indents the second and subsequent lines of all your citations. So that's a really handy shortcut to know. I have a whole video on it, how to do it in Microsoft Word, the web app version on SharePoint for Word, as well as Google Docs, showing you those shortcuts so that formatting isn't such a headache. I'm going to close out of Microsoft and don't want to save that. So that's one way that you can grab a citation. You can also do it if you download the PDF. If you download it through the library service, and hopefully this will work for me. I was having a little difficulty. Oh, yep, see? For some reason, oh, maybe I need to log in. I thought I was logged in, but maybe not. Yeah, let me sign in and see if that makes a difference. Sometimes it's helpful to log into the library with your credentials. That will often make accessing information a little bit easier. So let's see if that makes any difference. I don't think it will, but we'll give it another stab. And if that doesn't work for me, yeah, we will go back and check a different article. So I should have done my my research beforehand. Let's see. I apologize for that. Oh, let's go here. Let's find something different. Technology and happiness. Let's see if this one works for us. So we're going to read online, and hopefully we can grab a citation in the online article. Sometimes you can, sometimes it's correct, sometimes it isn't. So it's really just a matter of, you can get the PDF format as well. So oftentimes on these journal websites or database websites, you will see these little quotation marks where you can cite. And if you're lucky enough, it'll have a drop-down menu of, I mean, look at all the number of different citation styles. So what we want is MLA 9th, probably basic. I'm not sure what it means with title casing. Yeah, okay. That is correct. And again, you could export that citation, once again, to EasyBib if you want, or copy it and paste it again into your working document, right? So that's one way. If we open up the PDF, oftentimes that will also be available for us. So once again, you could just get that and you have the correct citation. And you could download the article to your paper, or to your to your computer, right? To your files, so that you have it available and you can read offline if you want to. So that's just one way that you can find additional sources and how you can grab those citations. So knowing how to get those citations is really helpful. Of course, in the module, in that resource PDF that I provided for you, I already have those correct MLA citations. So all you have to do is copy and paste into a new document. You don't even have to do the thinking. Is that cheating? No, it is not. Because citations change so frequently and the formatting around it and knowing where to put the comma and where to put the period and where the date goes and where the URL goes, and do we need to have accessed accessed on dates and that kind of thing. That can be really hard to keep track of because it does change quite frequently. MLA had its last update in 2021, I believe, or 2020 or 2021, so fairly recently. And chances are good that in another couple of years, they're going to change again. One little tiny thing about how a citation should appear on the page. So knowing in general what's expected of citation, right? You need the author's name if there's an author. You need the title of the article, and you need to know when it was published and where you can find it. So when it was published is usually easily found on the publication, and where you can find it, that could be a page number, that could be a chapter, that could be a URL to a website, right? So because we're working with online materials, digital materials, you should include that URL, right? It might be a DOI, that's a digital object identifier. That's the permanent digital place where an article might live. Or it could be a plain, URL with a .html at the end. And usually those are really easy to find. So that is how to locate sources using the library. There was another thing that I wanted to show you. Let's go back to that main page. The English Composition Research Guide. So this is a really handy guide. The guide home just is an overview. Then we have something about developing research questions. We don't really need that right now because I've provided you with a research question, but you can take a look at what they have here if you're interested, or if you have to write a research question for another class. Chances are probably good that you won't be at this point, but who knows? So there's a short video you can watch that talks about developing research questions and why that's important. Choosing keywords will really become important if you're going to be locating something. So again, I took a couple of important keywords from our research question. Does technology make us happier? Yes or no, right? And I plug those keywords into our search engine. So I use technology and happiness, right? And you could change that if you're curious about social media and teenage rates of depression, then those keywords would look different. You would put in teens, depression, social media, right? You might put and in, or you might not need to. So again, if you want to do further research so that you can find sources that are really related to what you want to write about, you're more than welcome to do that. There is a short video, of course, as well as some handouts that you can explore. Searching for sources, we covered that with one search. They have a 2.5 minute video that is kind of helpful, but it's hard to see things clearly on the screen. So that's why I went through my own little spiel. And there are some links to some databases. So one of the databases that I want to introduce you to is called Academic Search Complete. That's another way of finding, locating sources. There's information on types of sources. So we're talking about scholarly versus popular sources. You are welcome to use both scholarly and popular for this research essay. And then reading and evaluating sources. So evaluating sources, this video, I think I also have linked in our module. It's a good video that tells you why it's important to evaluate sources. Many of you in this class are adults, so you're already doing that kind of an evaluation in your everyday lives, right? You're out in the working world, you've lived a bit of life, and you know that it's important to be able to evaluate sources for truth and clarity and that kind of stuff, and credibility. So that's this. And then there are a few resources here for reading scholarly journal articles. Now, scholarly journal articles, I'm not expecting you to read them. You're more than welcome to read them, but they can be challenging because it's a different kind of reading. So they talk a bit about, and there's a video that really is helpful, the anatomy of the scholarly article and how you can go about reading scholarly articles. So that can be helpful as well. And so those are the main ones. We have citing sources. Again, that's linked on that main page with links to the different writing centers. And keep in mind that we do have an embedded writing tutor in our class. Shai is fantastic. So I recommend working with them and getting help if you need help. Don't feel like you have to go through this whole process on your own. I'm here to help you. Shai's here to help you. And we have other academic writing tutors throughout our whole university system. So there's a multitude of ways that you can get help if you need it. There is also MLA resources. We use MLA in our English classes. However, you may be faced with a different type of citation method and style method. So we also have resources for APA. APA is the American Psychological Association, and that's typically the style that we used in social and behavioral sciences. Those of you who are in health sciences, you might have to cite using AMA, the American Medical Association. So knowing how to locate those sources and those information tips can be really helpful. Again, we also have Get Help, and you can contact the guide owners. So back to the library resources tab here, or link, we have the A to Z database list. So in our library, there's a multitude of databases that you can search for specialized information. And this will come in really handy as you go through your educational career. One of the ones I like the most is called Academic Search Complete. So if you open up that A to Z databases page and click on Academic Search Complete, it will open up this page in a moment. Some of you might be familiar with EBSCOhost, right? So that's the main host of this database. And again, you would just type in your keywords. So here, let's go teen depression and social media, right? And that already came up. And we'll just click search here. We can refine our search again later, right? We can look at access options. So let's take a look at full text online. So again, we have a nice article that we could save, print out, do whatever we want to do. You can save it and add to your project folder. You can bookmark, share it, download it, print it out, and again, grab that citation. So remember, APA is the first one because it's alphabetical, right? Well, actually, I don't know why why the default is APA, but you do have to use that drop-down menu to make sure that you get MLA, right? And copy again to your clipboard. So that's one way that you can find information. Now, if you aren't sure, like you're not sure how to answer the question, does technology make us happier? Yes or no? There is another resource, and that's called the Points of View Reference Center. So I just navigate through this alphabet to P, and then I scroll down to find Points of View, PO. There it is, Points of View Reference Center. So what I like about Points of View Reference Center is if you are writing an argumentative essay, and this is kind of what you're doing, it's kind of a researched argument. You can do a search in social media, right? And mental health. So let's see what it comes up with. Again, it's more like the A to Z reference center, or yeah, A to Z database. Academic search complete. So if you aren't sure, right, or if you have to write an argumentative essay for, let's say, a history class or something like that, and you aren't sure, we can then drop down here and they have all sorts of wonderful topics, right? So I'm going to come to media and communications, I think. Yeah, let's see if we can find something there, right? Print versus digital media. So this, you could find some related topics here. Media and body image. I think that's a good one, right? We have a lot of issues surrounding Instagram and the media in general. So what's wonderful is they have point and counterpoint, right? I don't know why that's not coming up. Usually it would open to a page where it was point and counterpoint. Okay. So yeah, they have a couple of books, and then we have here point. So let's see, let's open up. So points of view, right? So here they give kind of pros and cons. Point, body image in the media is an unhealthy picture. And they give you an article. And you can then look at that article and go down to the bibliography and find some more things that might be updated. Most of these are really old. But again, you can scan the bibliography for additional sources if you want to. This is not a good example. They've changed it a little bit because it used to be, well, no. It used to be, let's find a different topic. I'm sorry. Let's just look at concussions in pro sports, just for an example. This is what I was looking for. So typically they will have in a topic, they'll have an article that gives you an overview, right? So we have the overview topic. And again, for all of these articles, you can grab the citations, right? Just in the same way that you did every place else. Go for that drop-down menu. But what I like is if it's a topic that's controversial, we have, there's a guide, right? A guide to critical analysis. And then we have a counterpoint and a point. So we have the pro and the con of the argument. Professional sports associations should protect athletes from concussions. And the other point is increased education and awareness will reduce sports-related concussions. So you can read those points and their counterpoints and find out the pros and cons of the argument. And that's helpful when you are expected to be providing some kind of a counter argument or the opposition, right? The opposite view of what you are saying. What does the opposition say in regards to this article or to this argument? So again, we have the article. You can download it, print it out. You can grab the citation once again. So it's all really helpful information right at your fingertips. Sometimes it's overwhelming because there's so much. But again, knowing where to locate things is a good idea. Lastly, I want to talk about Google, right? So let's again, we can do some searches on Google, right? And we come up with a variety of things. And the downside of Google is oftentimes we get sponsored results, right? Sometimes we'll get that AI overview or the AI summary. Here, though, we have a couple of decent things, right? We have a mix of popular and scholarly sources, right? Social media and mental health in children and teens from Johns Hopkins Medicine. So let's take a look at that. So again, you're not going to have in these more popular sources, right? The non-scholarly sources, even though it might be good information and from a credible source, Johns Hopkins Medicine is pretty credible. You're not going to have any of the citation stuff up at the top that you can grab. So that's when using EasyBib or Citation Machine comes in really handy. So let's go to EasyBib, right? Okay, and create citations. So this looks similar to Citation Machine. Hopefully we won't get all the pop-ups. So I'm choosing website and I am clicking and putting my URL in that I've copied. And then I click on cite and continue. And if there aren't any of the items that I need to change, right? We have featured experts, Carol Vidal and Jennifer Margaret Katzenstein are the writers for this. So I'm going to include their names. And then to add another contributor, once again, Jennifer Margaret. So this is the kind of things that we do in face-to-face classes. So those are the things that I've added, right? And we get our citation, and you can then copy citation if you want to, especially if you are working with Google Docs, you will need to copy citation, or you could export to, and it will export to Microsoft Word. Oh, EasyBib has the option of exporting to Google Docs. How awesome is that? So if you are putting in more, like a longer list of resources and you have several citations, then you could export it all and it will do it automatically. It'll have all the correct formatting. It will be alphabetized for your works cited page. It's really such a fantastic resource that you just copy and paste into or export into your works cited document. So EasyBib, the other one is Citation Machine, and I'll show you citationmachine.net. And as you see, it looks similar. Citation Machine is really annoying because it has lots of pop-ups, but they're both run by Chegg, right? And you would do the same thing. It works exactly the same way. Here, I'll just show you, but I'll probably get a pop-up that says that I need to watch an ad because it's been 48 hours since I was last in. And again, you would have to put in the author's names, right? And complete your citation. So that is Citation Machine, EasyBib, whichever one you want to use. If you need to use it, it's helpful. So you're not limited to that list of resources. You're not limited to searching in the library databases. However, if you use something and you get a result from Google, just know that you have to do the extra work of finding that citation and importing it into your document and that kind of thing. It's not going to automatically do it for you. There is also Google Scholar. So that's scholar.google.com. And you could put in teens and social media addiction. Oh, I like that one. And again, if you are logged in to your UC account, you will most likely be able to access some of these links here. Yeah. So again, we don't have the citation tools that we have if we were doing it from within the library. But sometimes you have a citation here, right, that you could copy and paste. Sometimes the MLA citations aren't 100% correct because they're going off an old citation. You know, it might not be the most updated. Like here, 2021 in parentheses. We don't use parentheses around our dates anymore in MLA. So that would be something that would need to be corrected. Yeah, most of these are older versions of MLA. Yeah, we don't use we don't use that. And we would then, of course, want to add, if it's a digital thing, then we would have to grab part of that website URL and paste it into our citation. So again, it's helpful. They do provide some of the information, but I think it's easier just to work with the library resources than working with Google and Google Scholar. That's just my opinion, right? Take it or leave it. So this was a really long-winded exploration of the library resources, but I feel it's necessary just so that you have some kind of an introduction to it should you need it for other classes this semester. But again, for our purposes here, you can be completely fine just lifting those resources from Does Technology Make Us Happier? Or if you see something there and you're like, well, that's kind of interesting, but it's updated. I wonder if there's something similar out there. You could do a Google search, right? And of course, if you need help finding those citations, getting them correct, you can always ask me. Just try your best, right? That's all I'm asking for. And that's, of course, moving forward. So hopefully this has been helpful and not confusing. But again, if you have any questions or any concerns, you know how to reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.